Hi everybody, my name is Jim and welcome back to another episode of The Lake Effect Gardener. Summer vacation has finally arrived. Although you wouldn't be able to tell by what I'm wearing, it is a little cooler out here. It's about in the mid-60s, but in comparison to what we've been having lately, well, it feels rather chilly. But never mind, that's not what this is about. Today, I am finally going to reveal to you the finished polytunnel. It is done. It is ready to go. Thank goodness. It only took me about a couple years to get it here, but it is finally, infrastructure is done, cardboard was put down, all the compost that I needed was laid out. It is no longer a halfway house for lawn equipment and, tables and seedlings and whatever I could throw in there. It is now ready for plants. I'm so thrilled, so thrilled. So there's going to be a whole mixture of things that I'm going to be planting in the polytunnel. And I'm going to explain that as we go in and talk about that. But the main crop that's going to be in there for at least the summer is going to be tomatoes. And it's very interesting. It's very interesting, the tomatoes that I will be using for the tunnel because, well, I don't want to divulge too much. Let's go into the tunnel. I want to finally show you everything that I've done and how glorious and how it should look finally after all this time. So let's go. All right, let's look at the grand reveal. Ooh. Oh, it is so nice to see these glorious beds all taken care of and all finished and all ready to plant in. What a difference. Let's get another shot over here. Hip hip hooray. So you can see I did a border here of some of that wood that my friend Denise gave to me. And then of course we've got the pallets that are running down here. This bed runs the length of the tunnel. Okay, and then at the very end here, I haven't planted anything in yet, but this is where I'm going to be putting my grapevine. Okay, the variety is called Mars, and I believe it's a seedless red grape. And I'm going to train that along here. Okay, so this is a 20-foot polytunnel, and so this is going to have a really good run. I'm really happy about that. And the grapes, hopefully, if they produce, will hang rather kind of low, which is also a good thing. But I was thinking about going up higher, but then I realized that, this bar right here, I'm going to be using for my tomatoes when I plant them in. So I'm going to leave that kind of real estate free. And then over here, you can see I put some palleting down here, and this is where my self-watering container is that I've got my 2 sugar baby and my 2 bitter melon. And I've just kind of thrown up some makeshift fencing here to help it to climb. And then eventually I'm going to take it this way. I'll probably do some string or something, some jute twine. I don't know. It's still, I still have time. It hasn't grown all that much since I've planted them in, so I have time to think about that. So this is a smaller bed here, and I think this is going to be primarily my winter brassicas and other things. This is really going to be kind of a plant orphanage because I have so many extra seedlings and whatnot that need to go in, and I would rather have them planted in here so they have a really good environment to grow, something that I can grow through the winter, instead of planting them in the bags. And the bags, I will bring more of them online. But at the moment, I just want to kind of get everything in here. This side is going to be tomatoes, tomatoes, tomatoes. And I'm also going to probably do in front of them a row of the herbs that I started from seed. So, very pleased. I also put a pallet on this end. Why, you may ask? Well, I'm going to reveal that later. But I do have something that I've been hanging on to for a while, very long while, even before I moved into this house I've had it. And I've just kind of been thinking about what I'm going to do with it, and I've figured out that it's going to go in here. But you will see that at a later date. So that is the tunnel. Hip, hip, hooray. Now it is time to start planting in. And I'm probably going to just kind of get this side all taken care of. But for this side, the tomatoes, we're going to head out into the garden. I'm going to be showing you exactly what I need to do out there. I know this is so vague, right? But it's definitely part of this video. I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to ruin the surprise, but yeah, some crazy stuff has been happening out there. Let's go out to the garden. If you guys recall, these tomato plants that I started from seed, these are the varieties that I had planned on growing in the tomato bed, didn't really come to much. They are super tiny and super, I don't know. But anyways, I said I was going to repot them, and I didn't. Okay, they're still looking pretty sad, but no matter. We're going to head over to that little clump that I showed you, okay, which, yes, I still haven't gotten that out yet. There are other priorities. But anyways, let's go over there. I want to show you those. So here they are. Remember, this is the variety called Porter, okay? And they're getting really, really big, and they're still in a rather large clump here. So I will be utilizing these in the tunnel, but that's not it. That's not the only thing that I've got. So let's take a little trip over here to the brassica bed. Okay, and if you recall, last year this was the tomato bed. All right, and things are really beginning to fill out here. I'm really, really pleased. However, amongst all these gorgeous leafy friends of mine, I've got tomatoes. Lots and lots and lots of tomatoes. They are growing up everywhere. And I have not done a proper weed of this part of my shadow, of this bed yet. But that's because I saw these puppies growing. And, you know, I can't throw away a plant. Now there are a lot here, and I know pretty much from the general vicinity from last year what varieties these may be. Okay, let me get out of the shadow here. I have a pretty decent idea, but it may not be the variety that I'm thinking. Okay, another one here, another two here. So, free tomato plants. I'm going to have these out. And these are the varieties that I'm going to be growing in the tunnel. So, this one's growing rather close to this green cabbage plant here. I'm going to have this one out first, but I just want to show you how I'm going to do this before I'm going to just collect all of these together. So if my approximation is correct, this is where the Consoluto Genovese were grown last year. You know, could it be a different variety? Absolutely, I have no idea, but this is a nice sturdy plant. So I actually have this dandelion puller with a broken handle. Or it's not even broken, it's gone, I have no idea where it went, but it still works. So I'm just going to use this, and I'm not going to be all too careful about getting a huge root ball on it, because, as you know from tomatoes, that they will root readily easily, that's not really, no, relatively, that's the word, relatively easy if you plant them deep. So I'm just going to tease this out like so. Okay. There are some roots in there, and you can see already, okay, there's tiny little root nodes there along the stem. Those are all going to take inside the soil when I put it in the polytunnel, and this will end up becoming a nice sturdy plant. Okay, here's another one over here. Do the same. Just tease it out. Okay, not a ton of roots. Again, I'm not concerned. They might go through a little bit of a shock when they get into the tunnel. I'm just going to keep them well watered and see what happens. So I'm going to get the rest of these up, and then we'll head into the tunnel. Okay, so I have all the necessary for this project, and there aren't a lot of ingredients, for this. So ingredients, supplies, what have you. But I do have all of my tomatoes here. I picked out about 10 plants from the brassica bed. Again, I have no idea what the varieties are, but they're going to produce tomatoes, and that's all I want, okay? And they're obviously varieties that I like because I grew them last year, so I'm happy. Free plants, free plants, free plants. Here is that clump, what's left of it, of the porter. I actually gifted quite a number of these, so these are going to be going in as well, and I can't help myself. I know these are so pathetic, but they are my favorite variety, my favorite eating variety, so I'm going to stick a couple of these in as well and see if they take off and do anything. So along with the plants, I also have my little spade here, and I have my jute twine and a pair of scissors. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is I want to put the twine up first, okay? Just so I can get the spacing as to how many plants I'm going to have, and then I want to make sure that everything is spaced evenly, and I have, I don't want to squeeze a ton in here, only because there may be other things that I may want to have going here at some point. I don't want to use up all the room if I don't have to. So I'm going to start by tying up these pieces of jute twine. If you remember my polytunnel video from last year when I was stringing the tomatoes up for the grow bags, I'm going to be using the same bar that I used essentially for the grow bags. I'm going to be doing something a little bit differently though. Instead of just doing one piece of string, okay, to go from the bar down to the plant, I'm actually going to double them up. I'm going to have 2 pieces of string, okay, coming down together, okay. That's going to add a little bit of extra strength. It's also going to it's going to make it easier for me to kind of, intertwine, if I may, the tomato as it starts to go up. Having it around one cord can sometimes be a little flimsy. If I have 2 pieces of jute on either side though, it's going to just be some added strength that I feel will be a good insurance policy. So the first one that I'm going to do is not going to be completely next to the grapevine, which I planted in, incidentally. I think I'm going to go maybe about 6 inches away from that. Okay. So I'm not even going to measure. I'm just going to take a really, really long piece. Anything that I have extra, I can just save for something else. All right. So I'm going to make this cut. All right. And then I'm going to give it a tie here at the top. I'm not going to knot it. There's no need for that. Okay. There we go. Now the reason why I'm not going to knot it is because depending on how I space things, if one of these need to be moved over, if you have it completely knotted, you're not going to have it, you're not going to have an easy time moving it over, okay? It's going to be really kind of stuck to that bar. This way, you can just loosen it ever so slightly and move it in any direction you want, okay? So I'm planning ahead. All right. So I have about 5,000 more of these to go. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll show you what it looks like when it's all done. All right. So I managed to get about 4 lengths of jute per section, meaning every time one of these kind of cross members come down, the section in between, I managed to get 4. So I'm going to have 12 plants in here. I definitely have more tomato plants than I do jute string, which is fine because guess what? Those will have to go in the bags, I suppose. All right. Now, since these are all indeterminate varieties or cordon varieties, they will be growing all the way up. Okay, and they're going to have to be trained. So what I'm going to show you is just how I'm going to go ahead and plant this in using the jute. And I'm just going to show you one. All right, show you how I do it, or how I'm planning on doing it. And then I'm going to get the rest done off of camera as to not bore you to tears. Okay, it's finally time to get these puppies in the ground. Now I'm going to start with the ones that I harvested from the brassica bed because they're starting to look a little sad. Before I do that though, I just kind of want to explain what I'm going to be doing. It's going to be a little different, okay, than what some gardeners do. And actually, I don't know if any gardeners do this, to tell you the truth. I've never done it before. This is kind of something I hatched in my head, and I'll see if it works. And if it doesn't, well, shame on me. You know, there's always a plan B. But anyways, my goal with this bed, yes, this is going to be tomatoes. I want to have plenty of tomato plants. However, it is space that I want to use, okay? There are other crops that may need to go in here still. So what I'm going to do instead of the traditional, and this is what I did when I grew these in the bag, okay? You take the string and you bury it in the soil, okay? And then the tomato will go all the way up. At least it's supposed to. I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to affix these strings to the wooden base of the tunnel, okay? What this is going to do is it's going to send the tomato plants further back, which is what I want, okay? So that I can utilize the space that's in front of it. So, let's get my bearings here. Oh boy. So essentially, this is awkward. It's going to come down like this, okay? And then I will train it up on the diagonal. And that way, it's still going to have plenty of airflow. It's going to still get plenty of sunlight. And then on top of that, I'm going to have all the room in the front to plant in, okay? So I'm just going to take a simple deck screw. All right, here we go again. Ugh. Make sure that I line it up pretty well. I'm going to put it in partially. This is terribly awkward work. All right, then I'm going to measure. Okay, it comes to about here on the string. I'm going to loop it and make a knot. Okay, and then this part will go. Come on. On the screw. Now, this is pretty sturdy and it's pretty tight too, but I have no worries about that because it's jute, it's a natural twine. With the moisture and the humidity, there will be some slack to this. There'll be a little bit of slack. So I'm going to try putting these on as tight as possible without breaking the string, and then and that way the string will be able to relax over time, okay? So I will plant the tomato at the base, and then I'm going to have it train diagonally upwards. And this will give plenty of clearance for this grapevine to do its thing. Now, I doubt this is going to get any bigger than this year. It is its first year in planting, so I'm not all too concerned about it. But I'm going to get on with this. Well, before I do that, you know, I'm just going to go ahead and plant. All right. And like I said, I'm going to plant this pretty deep. Just like that, right at the base. I'll obviously cut the slack off of it, etc., etc. So yeah, all right, I've got plenty more to go. I'm gonna get on with this and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. All right, everything is now planted in and looking very, very, very sorry for itself. Oh dear. Let's just keep in mind, folks, that these are freshly transplanted and going through a bit of a shock right now. So we have all of these tomato plants. This is an I don't know variety. I don't know, not sure, can't wait to find out. Please surprise me. I grew you last year. Everything's going to be wonderful. And then I believe, let's see, one, so we have, ooh, sorry about that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, there are 6 borders. All right, starting on kind of this half of the tunnel. And then, oh, I don't know if you can see them. They're so small and tiny. There's one there, little sweetie, and a teensy one over there. If they don't come to anything, you know I got backups, so I'll throw those in. I also managed to throw in as well some other things that I had laying around, which was some more basil. Okay, that is an Italian flat leaf variety. I also have some holy basil or tulsi that I grew from seed. These are all from seed, mind you. And then some thyme that I also grew from seed. Got a little pummeled by the watering. Okay. So I hope these enjoy their new places. And while I was here, I got this planted up as well. So, welcome to the orphanage. Let me just quickly explain to you what we got going on here. So, in the back, I have a pie pumpkin. It's a small sugar pie pumpkin. Okay, I've got 4 plants there. I'm going to train those upwards because the fruit is rather small. Okay, beside that, over here, I had some extra Waltham butternut squash. So I'm going to do the same. I'm going to train them upwards. So those are my climbing squashes that I have in here. They might be too humid in here. They might suffer from mildew and whatnot in here, but I had the extra. I thought I'd just throw it in here anyways. Over here, I have a row of Nero di Toscana kale. Okay, these are the same seeds that I planted, seedlings I planted out in the garden. I just had extras, random nasturtium. This is lacinato kale, so it's kind of the same variety. Moving along, ruby red, Swiss chard. So you can see I am really planning on my winter garden. All right, over here, really, really tiny little rhubarb, Swiss chard. And then what do we have here? This is magenta sunset, one tiny little plant there. And then I have a couple bunches here and there. Now, something that I haven't shown to you yet this year. This is the American purple top rutabaga, otherwise known as Swede. Okay, this is really a fall crop, and I really should be planting the seeds for these now, and I'm going to be doing that because once I have my onions up, I think I decided that's where they're gonna go, according to my victory garden plan. So yes, that whole section in the garden for the onions I think is going to be rutabaga. I'll have to double check that, I'm not completely sure. I had 3 leftover chilies. Okay, this is the baihio. I'm probably butchering that, but never mind. And I had these in here because I didn't have any room, and those nasty little mice, the ones that took down my lilies, I don't know if you guys recall that from my May tour, okay? They also did quite the lop job on these, okay? You can see right here. But they just did some judicious pruning because now they're coming back with some side shoots, and if you look really carefully, we've got some flower buds that are forming. Next to that, I've got 5 sweet bell red peppers, 3 black beauty eggplants, and then again, this is new, and this is something that will also be going out in the garden once I've pulled up, I believe, my broad beans, and this is purple sprouting broccoli. So again, this is another winter crop, okay? So hopefully, you know, these will come to something first, earlier, so I can get an earlier crop here in the tunnel before the ones in the garden come to anything. These are 2 leftover random Table King acorn squashes. I don't know if they'll come to anything. I think the space is entirely too small for them, but you know, with a little bit of judicious pruning, you can keep them relatively small and compact and still yield quite a bit of fruit. So that leaves this whole area in front of the tomatoes to be planted in. I'm not going to go crazy because honestly, I'm going to need the room to, you know, squeeze my rear end in between these plants so that I can get some of these tomatoes tied up and to get them cropped as well. So I do have many more plants that could go in, but I might do some seeds in here. I might do some more winter greens and whatnot. So that is yet to be determined. But anyways, oh, the tunnel is looking fab. Couldn't be happier. I have to say, I think out of all the projects that I really had to do in the garden, that one was haunting me for the longest time. So I am so thrilled that it's finally done, and there's still more planting to do. But that is my new garden for victory, dig for victory philosophy, is that it is ongoing. I must continue to sow seeds. I must continue to pull things out and replace it. So that's going to be an obstacle for me to get over because, like I said, I've gotten so used to just having it all out, harvesting, and then calling it a day, and I don't want that to happen this year. So I'll be interested to see how those strings hold up, the cords, and if they work really, really well. I'll be interested to see how those go. It could be a complete failure. If that happens, then you know, I'll figure something out. I've got plenty of secondhand wood and different things I've picked up to the, you know, off of the curb and dumpster dove, whatever. I'll make it work. The next video we have on tap is going to be the June tour. Now, this isn't going to be coming out until the beginning of July, obviously, but I will be filming it in June. I won't cheat, okay? Calling it a June tour and have it filmed in July. So lots of different changes here. Some things are frustrating, some things are wonderful. I can't wait for you to see it. But until then, I hope you're all doing well. I hope that things are really beginning to take off for you. You're starting to harvest stuff. I've got broad beans that need to be harvested. And yeah, everything is just really, it changes every day. That is what's so exciting about it. I come out here every morning with my coffee / tea, whatever, you know, warm beverage that I have to keep me awake. And I take a walk back here, and even in 24 hours, I'm like, this looks different. This looks good. So hope your gardens are all doing the same thing as well. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Please, if you like what you see, if you want to see more, please consider subscribing, hit the notification bell, thumbs up, and of course, always leave your comments. Until then, I will see you all very, very soon. So long.